I look a lot like my dad. Maybe not right now, but what if I do this? If you like old American comedies, you are likely to remember the memorable Don Knotts. Barney Fife, the likable but clumsy deputy sheriff, was played by him on the famous series The Andy Griffith Show in the 1960s. 5 Emmy Awards were given to him for this part. People all over the country knew and loved him for his comedic timing, nervous energy, and unforgettable facial expressions. It is sad to say that Don Knotts died in 2006. Something very intense and totally out of the blue happened in his last moments, though. His daughter Karen Knotts was right next to him on his deathbed, holding his hand and soothing him through the whole thing. She never left him. She was strong even when he was her father and made a lot of people laugh, faced the last curtain call, but then Don Knotts said a few last words to her, in a way that would change her life forever. Karen didn't tell anyone what he said for years, until now. Finally, she told them something that might really shock you. Watch on to find out what she said. Don Knotts' horrible childhood. Don Knotts was Jesse Donald Knotts, a boy from a broken home in Morgantown, West Virginia, long before he became a 5-time Emmy-winning star known for his wide-eyed stammering, nervous energy, and parts that made people laugh. Don was born into a family that was having a hard time. Elsie Luzetta Knotts, his mother, was 40 years old when he was born. She had 4 boys and he was by far the youngest. William Jesse Knott, his father, was a tough farmer who used to be able to take care of himself, but was slowly falling apart because of schizophrenia and drinking. The family had to give up their farm just 1 month before things were really tough. The Knotts' house wasn't warm. His dad's mental illness often made him aggressive. Don later remembered how scary it was when his father would threaten him with a knife. To deal with this, young Don would escape into his mind, making a world that was safer, funnier, and much more forgiving than the real one. His older brothers, William and Ralph, who was known as Sid, didn't stop him from eating. When Don came along, they were almost grown up. They didn't get along well with their younger brother. They drank a lot, just like their dad. They were mean to Don a lot of the time, but he still thought they were great. Especially Sid. It was easy for Sid to make everyone in the family laugh, even when things were bad. Sid was more than just a brother to Don, he was a hero to me. Then something terrible happened. Sid died quickly from a bad asthma attack, which broke Don's heart and the hearts of his family. He would never forget the loss. Don needed comfort badly, so he turned to an odd thing, a doll named Danny. Danny was more than a toy. He was a partner that Don made up. His made-up friend turned into a comic prop. Don started to do little things with Danny. He got pleasure and confidence from making other people laugh, even if it was only pretend at first. Don started to open up at Morgantown High School. People liked him and thought he was funny, and were even made class head. His fame didn't take away his self-doubt, though. He felt skinny, poor, and out of place, and he could never get rid of the feeling that he didn't fit. Still, his love for acting grew. Don knew for sure that he wanted to work in show business by the time he finished. He was only 18 years old when he packed his dreams, his dummy, and his bravery and went to New York City. But New York City did not roll out the red carpet. His first test didn't go well, and the big city wasn't good for a shy kid who didn't know anyone. Crest was knocked down, but not lost. When Don got back home, he quickly joined the U.S. Army for World War II. Ironically, it was there while he was serving his country that he found an audience he didn't expect. He was in Army comedy shows and used his humor to make his fellow soldiers feel better. People loved it because it was his first try at a real show. Don didn't give up on his dream after the war. He went back to school instead. At West Virginia University, he got a degree in teaching with a minor in speech. He graduated in 1948. He joined the club Phi Sigma Kappa, which helped him get better at public speaking and kept the performer in him alive. After that, the world became more open. The job. Don Knotts lived in the United States for almost 3 years. Army, but not as a soldier in the trenches. From June 1943 to January 19, he worked to boost confidence. He was in the 6,817th Special Services Battalion, which wasn't made for battle but for fun. What does he do? Laugh with the men. He did it. Taking part in the Army's touring variety show Stars and Gripes, and going across the Pacific. As a clown in dress, he was more than that. He had the Medal of Honor for Honorable Service, the Philippine Liberation Medal, the American Campaign Medal, the Good Conduct Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 4 Bronze Service Stars, and the World War II Victory Medal by the time he left the Army. Even though he joined the army to get away from his small town and a hard youth, he came out with purpose, poise, and stage presence. After being let go as a technician grade 5, which is the same as a corporal, Knott went back to West Virginia University where he was familiar. It was different this time. His job wasn't just to study. He was a veteran with stories to tell, timing to work on, and a stage presence shaped by the people he performed for during the war. He loved being in the spotlight on campus, where he performed often and boosted his confidence. During this second time at college, though, something else happened, something very different. He fell in love. When Knott met and married Kay Metz, it changed his life after college. Knott has a degree in education, a minor in speech, and a wife by his side. He has packed up his hopes once more and is eager to make it back to New York City. This time he wasn't a hopeless stranger. Because of the military contacts he made while he was in the service, doors began to open for him. He went to a lot of comedy clubs and told jokes in stuffy rooms. He got a part as Windy Wales on the radio western Bobby Benson and the B. Barbie Riders. Windy Wales was a smug know-it-all figure with quick wit and great timing. Then he got his first TV part on the soap opera Search for Tomorrow, which ran from 1953 to 19. He was on TV and in movies all over the country, but it wasn't funny. Things really took off in 1956, though. That year, Knott got a job on The Steve Allen Show, where he joined a group of comedians who would change everything. People knew him for his role as a twitchy, nervous man in Allen's fake interviews. It was made of pure gold. People really liked it. The person wasn't very far from Knott, nervous, tense, and unsure. But he made those traits into magic. Off-screen, he was already getting along well with rising star Andy Griffith. They worked together on Broadway from 1955 to 1957 in No Time for Sergeants. Knott had two funny parts, a preacher with wide eyes and a badass soldier named Manuel Dexterity. In 1958, the play was turned into a movie and Knott played the same part. His jittery charm stole the show while Griffith played the lead. As an Air Force test supervisor slowly fell apart in front of a country bumpkin, that role gave a hint of what was to come. It was the start of one of the best comic teams in the history of American TV. Don Knotts had finally shown up. Kay Metz wasn't just anyone when she met Don Knotts. She was his first wife. She grew up smart and proper because her father was a preacher. She was taught to follow the rules on paper. Don was a skinny, jittery, and funny kid from a hard life who had nothing in common with her. Love doesn't care about paper, though. Knotts didn't back down. He leaned in with charm, fun, and a never-ending sense of wit. He played her his best songs, and she was hooked right away. Catherine broke up with her fiancé and began seeing Don. After 2 years, they got married. Love wasn't the only plan, though. Knott still wanted something bigger, something he had thought about since he was a kid, and his imaginary friends were the only people who would listen to him. His goal was to not only make it, but really make it. Knotts took the jump again in 1949, this time with a brand new wife and only $100.00 in his pocket. Before they went to New York City, they went to West Virginia. New York City had hurt him before. Things weren't very different this time. He went to the same types of doors and got turned away every time. It was too awkward, scary, or strange. Their eyes and body language weren't right, and his humor, which had been honed on war stages and college stages, didn't seem to work in the city that never sleeps. He didn't give up, though. I got a few small parts, mostly radio gigs, over time. He got his start with recurring parts on the kids' western show Bobby Benson and the B. Barbie Riders, where he played Windy Wales, a character who talked a lot and had a bad temper. It wasn't exciting, but it paid well. What's more, it kept him going. Knotts may not have become famous quickly, but he was getting better. Slowly and steadily, one joke at a time. Don worked hard for 7 years before he got his big break in the Broadway play No Time for Sergeants. Even though he had a big moment on Broadway, the most important thing he learned from the show was how to meet Andy Griffith, who would change his life forever. Things were getting better for Don, but every good thing has a bad side as well. Knott's part on Broadway opened up a lot of doors for him. That being said, he didn't look at all like a typical main man. He was often cast as the silly friend of the main stars in his movies, which made them look even more heroic. It's possible that Don felt the same way most actors do when they are stuck in one type of role. Still, his most important part would be as the silly sidekick, which would tie him even more to that role. This is The Andy Griffith Show. In 1960, Knotts saw the pilot of a new show with his old friend Andy Griffith and got an idea. He called Griffith up and joked that he would need a deputy on the show and that Griffith should be that deputy. Griffith linked Knotts to the making of the show. As the saying goes, the rest is history. Sergeant Barney, the part that made him famous and won him awards, was first seen on The Andy Griffith Show. The show may have been a huge hit, but Knotts' personal life was anything but smooth. You can watch a rerun of The Andy Griffith Show on TV Land and see for yourself how well Knotts got along with Andy Griffith. But his wife didn't fit in with the other people at the show nearly as well. It was said that she didn't get along with Andy's wife, and it looked like she didn't get along with her husband either. People who watch TV thought Knott did great as Griffith's co-star. The two of them made American Homes Weekly laugh and feel good. It was hard work to film the show, and Knotts took his humor very seriously. But if you look at how his relationships turned out, you can see that he didn't take as good of care of his own home. It got hard on Don Knotts' family, especially his wife Catherine, when he had to work 10-hour days on a hit show. They became less close as Knotts got busier and more popular. They split up after 13 years of marriage and 2 children. Knotts might have been too busy for his family. But it looked like there were darker forces at work. Don Knotts had a lot of trouble with nervousness. Before he became famous in the 1960s, Knotts had a hard time with being a comedian. In fact, he would stay in bed for hours or even days before smaller live shows. As a joke, he would often play a quiet man on stage. It turned out that his own fears weren't nearly as funny. Knotts had anxiety. In the 1950s, his stage anxiety was so bad that doctors gave him medicine to help him deal with it. Knotts finally became too dependent on the pills, which added to his problems. This happened to a lot of Hollywood actors. He might have been able to handle life with worry, but Knotts had a lot worse problems. Knott often felt sick, so much so that he would show signs of being sick when he was actually just making things up. The short version is that he lied to himself and thought he was sick when he wasn't. He did his best to deal with it, but it did get in the way of his personal life. Though, things got so bad in the end that he felt he had no choice but to get help from professionals. Even though professionals were able to help, Knotts had already done too much damage. He had the life of money, women, and success he had always dreamed of after becoming famous, but his past kept coming back to haunt him. Not being able to get over the memories of his hard childhood was hard for Knott. He even cursed God in therapy as he tried to get better. Knott was sick, nervous, and depressed, and he also had trouble sleeping. He had a lot of mental problems that made him fall down a rabbit hole and leave The Andy Griffith Show. While he was alive, Don Knotts won 5 Emmys for his work on The Andy Griffith Show, but he didn't stay because of how well the show did or how close he was to Andy. There were a few more seasons of the show, but Knotts finally quit in 1965 because he thought there would be no more seasons after 5. After his 5-year contract was up, he started looking for other jobs, such as a movie deal with Universal. He was willing to go back to the show, but in the end, he focused on his movie business. Knott left Andy Griffith Show as a main cast member, but he did come back for a few guest